Hi there everyone, and thanks for tuning into another edition of the Warm-Up Lab here on Backstretch Banter. As always, I'm your host Jordan, here to bring you the news from NASCAR or from what happened over the past week, as well as analysis of the news that happened over the past couple of days since the race last Sunday. This is going to be a quicker episode than usual. I am a little bit sick, and I actually am driving down to Bristol Motor Speedway for the races this weekend in a couple of hours, so the show is coming to you a little bit earlier than usual. So I might miss a couple of news notes that might happen over the next day or so, like if something happens Thursday and Friday at the racetrack. But if there is something that happens, I will touch on it next week for you guys. But with that said, let's jump right into what happened last weekend from Texas Motor Speedway. Alrighty, so last weekend in the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series race from Texas Motor Speedway, despite the best efforts of the Gander Outdoors Truck Series regulars, in the Vancourt 350 last Friday night, it was all the Kyle Busch show as Rowdy led 97 laps while holding off the number 52 of Stuart Friesen for his fourth straight NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series victory, with the rest of the top 10 including that 52 truck of Stuart Friesen in second place, the 13 of Johnny Sauter in third, the 98 of Grant Enfinger in fourth, the 88 of Matt Crafton in fifth, the 17 of Tyler Ankrum in sixth, the 45 of Ross Chastain in seventh, the 02 of Tyler Dipple in 8th, the 30 of Brennan Poole in 9th, and the 99 of Ben Rhodes finishing 10th last weekend in the Vancourt 350 from Texas Motor Speedway. Alright, so now on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and despite not having the best car, the My Bariatric Solutions 300 on Saturday afternoon still went the way of most Xfinity Series races this season, as it was that number 18 iK9 Toyota Supra driven by Kyle Busch that once again found its way to victory lane in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race last weekend from Texas Motor Speedway, as Kyle Busch won the My Bariatric Solutions 300 and was looking for the weekend sweep on Sunday. Now the rest of the top 10 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series My Bariatric Solutions 300 included the number 2 of Tyler Reddick in second, the 20 of Christopher Bell in third, the 98 of Trace Briscoe in fourth, the 8 of Jeb Burton in fifth, the 1 of Michael Annett in 6th, the 11 of Justin Haley in 7th, the 81 of Jeffrey Earnhardt in 8th, the number 23 of John Hunter Nemechek in 9th, and the 39 of Ryan Sieg rounding out the top 10 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race from Texas Motor Speedway last weekend. Alright, so now on to the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 500 all came down to pit road and who would make the least amount of mistakes on it. But despite getting 2 pit road penalties last Sunday during the race, it was an amazing Sunday for Denny Hamlin, who followed up his Daytona 500 victory with his second win of the season last Sunday in the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500, following his 2 pit road penalties. Now, with the rest of the top 10, including the 14 of Clint Bowyer finishing second, the 41 of Daniel Suarez finishing third, the 20 of Eric Jones in fourth, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson finishing fifth, the 24 of William Byron finishing 6th, the 10 of Eric Almirola finishing 7th, the 4 of Kevin Harvick finishing 8th, the number 1 of Kurt Busch in 9th, and the 18 of Kyle Busch rounding out the top 10. Alright, so now let's jump into some industry news, and we have some unfortunate news to report out of the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series, and that is that driver Austin Wayne Self, who races for AM Racing, the number 22 Chevrolet Silverado. He hasn't raced in it over the past couple of weekends due to performance issues. It has come out now that Austin Wayne Self has actually been indefinitely suspended from NASCAR for violating the sanctioning body's substance abuse policy, and that was announced just this past week on Monday. Now, Self, who has made 66 career starts in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series from 2016 through 2019, including the first 3 races of this season, has 1 top 5 finish in his career and 5 top 10s, including a 9th place finish in this season's opening race at Daytona, driving for that number 22 AM Racing Chevrolet. Now, Self must complete the NASCAR Road to Recovery program before reinstatement. This is the same protocol that was followed with Spencer Gallagher last year when he was suspended following his Talladega win. And AM Racing has issued a statement after Monday's penalty news, and their statement said, and we quote, that AM Racing respects NASCAR's decision and will follow their direction. We expect Austin Wayne Self to return to the seat as quickly as possible, as AM Racing will continue to operate as normal with the determination of a driver lineup set in the next coming weeks. We expect to emerge from this challenge as a stronger team. And Austin Wayne Self Austin Wayne himself issued a statement from his personal Twitter account on Tuesday, a day after the penalty was announced, stating that he doesn't understand where the penalty came from. We see this in sports a lot of times when it comes to certain substances that are included sometimes in protein powders and beef and stuff like that end up getting into a driver's system. Or to the more potent example that I've seen is in boxing, where you see the boxers getting suspended because they're getting all these hormones put into them when they go eat meat, when like the Mexican boxers and stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see whether or not it was actually a drug suspension or what happened, what kind of substance it was. Obviously, NASCAR didn't come out saying what it is. They just came out saying it is a substance abuse policy violation, and Austin Wayne Self has been suspended indefinitely from competition in NASCAR. Alrighty, so now into some more schedule news, as this week we had another schedule announcement just earlier today that the NASCAR Xfinity Series and Truck Series schedule for 2020 has been released, and it mirrors the changes made to the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series schedule announced last week, plus a couple of new tracks, as well as the NASCAR Xfinity Series will make its long-awaited return to Martinsville Speedway in the fall race of next year, making it a triple-header weekend with the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. And the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series will also make a long-awaited return to another Virginia short track, as they will return to Richmond Raceway in 2020 as well. Now here is the breakdown of the entire schedules for both series, as there were some other dates moved around as well for next season. Now let's start with the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. They do start the season still the same way at Daytona International Speedway before heading out west with the other NASCAR series to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. After that, their next race will be in the middle of March at Atlanta Motor Speedway, then before heading down to Homestead Miami Speedway, mirroring the Cup schedule for the March date there. They will then head to Texas, Richmond Raceway, where they will be returning for the first time in over 10 years. Dover International Speedway, Charlotte, Kansas, Texas Motor Speedway, Iowa, Chicagoland, Pocono, Kentucky, Eldora at the end of July, Michigan International Speedway. That will be the last race of the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series regular season next year, as the playoffs will start at Gateway Motorsports Park at the end of August next year before they come back up to my home track at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on Labor Day weekend next year, before heading down to Bristol Motor Speedway with the other series, Las Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, and closing out the season at ISM Raceway as well, where they will now host a triple header weekend for the NASCAR Championship weekend. Now over to the NASCAR Xfinity Series that has a couple more dates that have been moved around as well. So in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, they will be racing Daytona, Las Vegas, Auto Club, ISM, Atlanta, Homestead, Texas, Bristol, Talladega, same as the Monster Energy Cup Series on all of those dates. Dover International Speedway, Charlotte, but this is the first one that has been moved, as Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course has been moved from their middle of August date up into May 30th weekend next year, before they head to Michigan International Speedway. They will also race at Iowa, Chicagoland. They will race on Sunday at Pocono Raceway, which shows that the Pocono doubleheader will have the Truck Series and Cup Series on the Saturday, and the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series on the Sunday day for the Pocono doubleheader weekend, before heading and racing on July 4th on Independence Day at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2020, before heading to Kentucky, New Hampshire, Iowa for their second race there, before heading to two of the other road courses in Road America and Watkins Glen. Then they head to Dover and then Daytona to end the month of August. And then we head to Darlington, Richmond, Bristol, Las Vegas, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval there on Sunday, October 10th, Kansas, Texas, Martinsville, and then ISM Raceway. So as we can see there, NASCAR kind of mirrored the Monster Energy Cup Series schedule when it came to the Xfinity and Truck Series for next season. That's an obvious no-brainer, as like it was said with the Monster Energy Cup Series schedule for next year. A lot of the contracts have already been signed, but they kind of have play in being able to move the dates back and forth between the different venues. So there's a lot of venues that did move dates, including Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, which has moved from August up to May. That's the biggest jump, aside from obviously Homestead Miami Speedway, which is jumping from being the last race of the season to now being the sixth race or the seventh race of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how the Xfinity Series schedule kind of shakes out next year. They kind of mixed up. They used to have that amazing month of August where they only raced road courses in Road America, Mid Ohio, and then Watkins Glen. Now it's kind of split up a little bit. You have Road America and Watkins Glen instead. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Xfinity Series and the Gander Outdoors Truck Series schedules for the 2020 schedule. All right, and the last little bit of industry news that I have for you guys this week in broadcasting news, it was announced earlier this week that Dale Earnhardt Jr., who, as we all know now, works in the booth for the NASCAR coverage on NBC Sports, will be a part of the broadcast team for the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Now, this is the first year that NBC will be covering the Indianapolis 500 after winning the TV broadcast rights for it and their new contract with IndyCar this year. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be joining a team that includes former NASCAR and IndyCar driver Danica Patrick, Mike Tirico, who, as we all know, is on the football coverage for NBC Sports, and other NASCAR personalities, including Chris Devoda and Rutledge Wood, during the coverage of the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Now, this is definitely very cool. I listen to the Dale Jr. download every week. He has said multiple times on multiple occasions how he would love to be at the Indianapolis 500, and now he's getting to do that. He's getting to knock something off of his bucket list, go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, learn a little bit more about IndyCar and the IndyCar cars themselves, and then we're going to get to listen to him on the broadcast as well during the Indianapolis 500 this year. So I think it's going to be really cool, and I can't wait to hopefully be able to watch Dale Jr. on TV. All right, so this week I do have a Let's Talk NASCAR segment, and this week I'm going to talk about the qualifying format that has gone down over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of rule changes made in the last couple of weeks in all of the NASCAR series about qualifying. This week they introduced a staging area, which I thought was going to be the pit stalls on pit road, where the cars are staged when they come out there and when they sit on the pit wall there before they could pull out. I was wrong. They actually made the staging area right before you exit pit road, which I think was a mistake. They said that the drivers had to leave the middle lane open, and you'd leave. If you're going to pull out, you pull out. As soon as you're in that middle lane, you have to go. Now, what drivers were doing were they were pulling out into that middle lane to see if anybody would go with them. If nobody went with them, they were pulling back into an open spot where they could see it. NASCAR didn't police it properly. I feel NASCAR didn't police it properly. My understanding of the rule was that if the car was going out on the racetrack, they couldn't stop. But NASCAR was allowing those cars to stop, pull into another line, and at points like last weekend, we had Ryan Newman pull out. Clint Boyer pulled out, assuming Newman was going. Newman pulled into another spot, but he didn't pull fully into that spot. He blocked the middle lane and blocked the 14 of Clint Boyer. Now, I watched the replays just a little bit ago again, just to refresh my memory of what happened. Boyer did have enough room to get around him, but he had to back up, kind of go around. It cost him a lot of time. Boyer wanted to get out there, get his own lap down. His teammate, the number 41 of Daniel Suarez, he went down and ran single laps every round and ended up qualifying up inside the top 10. So the Stewart-Haas Fords definitely had the speed and to be able to go out there and run a single lap time and still qualify very decent. Not on the pole, but still qualify very decent for the race. So Clint Boyer was definitely very upset. He was very, very upset about what happened when he was coming off of pit road, when he was attempting to come off pit road and the 6 of Ryan Newman was in his way. So I understand where he's coming from being upset. Newman was in the way, in my opinion. He wasn't fully in the way, but he was obstructing the way. Newman ended up qualifying 8th in that round. Clint Boyer 25th. They lobbied with NASCAR. Nothing happened, obviously. So Boyer started 25th for the race. Ended up finishing 2nd still. So if Boyer would have been starting up towards the front, who knows? Maybe he could have been the winner of last weekend's race. But what I'm trying to say is I think NASCAR is making a big mistake in how they are policing NASCAR, or not policing NASCAR, policing qualifying when it comes to those teams. You gotta be in their ear telling them go, 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 go. And if they don't go, you penalize them. You don't just let them sit there and keep just saying go, 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 go. You gotta go out there and you gotta make an example of somebody. I hate to say it, but you have to make an example of somebody. If that somebody is Ryan Newman, if that somebody is Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, whoever it is, you got to make an example of somebody and say, look, we're not going to do it. We're not going to take this. In my opinion, I love to see this group qualifying format. and I love to see single car qualifying. I like them both. I honestly like them both. I understand why group qualifying came into NASCAR, kind of allowed a little bit more TV time, this and that. But it's looking like NASCAR is going to start leaning towards going back to single car qualifying, which is something I actually love. I think single car qualifying is a lot better. It was a lot more, in my opinion, it was a lot more entertaining because you had that driver that took off. He got 1 or 2 laps around the track, and he sat there. The first guy would go out there, run a fast time. That first car could be the 18 of Kyle Busch. It could be the 4 of Kevin Harvick. It was different every week who that first car was going out. So that guy could sit down the fastest lap on that first time out, but he has to sit there on pit road and watch all these guys go around and see if he is going to be the pole sitter for the race. So, do I think it's a good idea to go back to single car qualifying right now? No. I think it's a good idea to try and make this group qualifying format work. We've had it for a couple of years now. It's worked in the past. It's entertaining. It's actually very entertaining to see these guys, especially with the drafting package that they have now. Last week, where it was the guy that was leading on that first lap in that last round wasn't the guy that got the pole. It was actually Jimmy Johnson that got the pole, who was the third car in line. So I understand the disadvantage of going out first, but at some point in time, NASCAR has to police it and say, look, if you're going, you go. You can't just stop in the middle. In round 2, when they were going out, Ryan Blaney was the first car to go out, but he went out at a sluggish pace, at an absolute sluggish pace. And I think he was holding up everybody else behind him. He was hoping that 21 of Paul Menard or the 24 of William Byron, who were the 2 cars at the front in the rows where they're actually supposed to be staged, was going to go before him. They didn't, and Ryan Blaney ended up not getting the lap that he wanted to. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. You got to qualify for the race. Obviously, with the new penalties where if you don't make the time, your time will be disallowed for that round. Obviously, there's a lot more incentive to actually go out there and make sure you get your qualifying lap down. Hopefully, NASCAR gets it right. We aren't at a racetrack that's going to have as much drafting issue with that package until after Talladega. So they have a little bit of time now. They have a good 4 week stretch, to figure out what they're going to do with this drafting package for group qualifying and figure out a way to fix the issues that we are having with group qualifying. Because quite frankly, watching from home, it's getting a little bit annoying to see these guys having to bitch and complain about what's going on during qualifying, and it's not even a race yet. So hopefully NASCAR can figure out something, get it right. Personally, I think the right track might be going back to single car qualifying, at least for this year, and then figure something out. But I just like single car qualifying, so I'm a little bit biased on my opinion. So that's my Let's Talk NASCAR segment for this week. So let's jump right now into the weekend picks for this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now that's right, we finally made it to my first race weekend of the year, and while I won't be there for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race on Saturday afternoon, I will be there Sunday for the Monster Energy Cup Series Food City 500. But first, let's make the picks for the NASCAR Xfinity Series Alsco 300. With that said, my pick for the Alsco 300 this weekend comes from the manufacturer that won here last time around here in the summer race at Bristol last year, which is Chevrolet, as he's a rookie in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, who I think is going to get his first victory of the season this weekend from Bristol Motor Speedway. It is number 9 Junior Motorsports Switch Chevrolet Camaro, and that driver is Noah Gragson. All right, so now on to the Monster Energy Cup Series Fantasy Live lineup for Sunday's race. The Food City 500 from Bristol Motor Speedway starts at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. My first pick is that number 20 of Eric Jones. He's been pretty fast here at Bristol. He won the pole a couple of years ago when he raced in the number 77 for Furniture Row Racing. And this weekend, him and Craftsman are doing a very cool initiative where if he wins the race, they are going to make $1 million donation to a children's hospital down in Tennessee. So I definitely want to see Eric battling up at the front and potentially winning this weekend to get that $1 million donation from Craftsman. They are making a $100,000 donation in Eric Jones's name already, but they will up it to $1 million if Eric Jones wins this weekend. My second pick is the 22 of Joey Logano. He's won here multiple times in the Xfinity Series and Monster Energy Cup Series, so don't be surprised seeing him up at the front. My third pick is Jimmy Johnson. The number 48 of Jimmy Johnson has been on a tear lately. He finished 5th last weekend, his first top 5 of the season, his first top 5, I believe, in 26 races. So it'll be interesting to see if the short track speed is there for Jimmy Johnson this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway. My fourth pick is the number 42 of Kyle Larson, the guy that's led the most laps here last year. It'll be interesting to see if Larson has the speed to be able to run up at the front. Obviously, his teammate, the number one, Kurt Busch, has shown that he's the faster Chip Ganassi racing car this season so far. So it'll be interesting to see if Larson's able to make his car work at a track that he's very good at and maybe get that first win at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. And my fifth pick is the number 41 of Daniel Suarez, who has also been on a tear recently, including a third place finish last weekend from Texas Motor Speedway. He's getting closer, and obviously last year this team won the August race here at Bristol Motor Speedway with driver Kurt Busch behind the wheel. It's the same team, same car, so we'll see if Daniel Suarez can get it done this weekend from Bristol Motor Speedway. My garage pick is that number one of Kurt Busch, who won here last year. He's won here multiple times in the past in his career, and I definitely think Kurt is going to be very fast this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now, my pole winner pick for this weekend's race is that number 20 of Eric Jones. He's won it in the past. I think he'll have the speed to be able to do it on Friday night. My stage 1 winner is the pole winner of Eric Jones. My stage 2 winner is the 42 of Kyle Larson. However, my winning manufacturer is going to be a Ford, as I believe this weekend I'm going with firsts, and that is that the 41 of Daniel Suarez is going to get his first career Monster Energy Cup Series victory this weekend from Bristol Motor Speedway in the Food City 500. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Warm-Up Lap here on Backstretch Banter. As always, you can head over to my website, backstretchbanter.com, where you can find links to all the places that this podcast is available. Wherever you listen to your podcast, it is more than likely available, including Spotify now as well. Be sure to also head over to my social media feeds, especially my Instagram feed at Backstretch Banter on Instagram. I will be posting a lot of pictures from this weekend. Hopefully on Sunday if I'm able to get a good connection at the track, but if not Sunday, I'll be posting them Sunday night along my drive home. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week to go over what I saw at Bristol Motor Speedway and to detail what is going to happen at Richmond Raceway.